Michigan State 16th out of 18 teams in the Big Ten preseason poll, but is it good to fly under the radar as a player? We asked Brian Lewerke that and a whole lot of quarterback questions. Let's go.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode of Locked On Spartans is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, thank you all so much for kicking off your day with us here and making Locked On Spartans your first listen every day here of Locked On Spartans. Hey, it's Brian Lewerke, friend of the program. He's been around many a times, more times than I ever thought that he would join this show, but my goodness gracious, kind enough to lend his time, his insight. We're going to go through it all. Big Ten Media Days, which Michigan State starts on Wednesday at noon. That's when Jonathan Smith speaks, quarterbacking, and also just preseason hype or lack of hype in this case. But before that, Brian, how you doing, man? Are we doing okay in this offseason?
Yeah, we're doing good. We're living back in Philly again.
There we go.
Enjoying the time with my wife and everyone here, so it's been great.
Excellent. And here we are, football is finally in the air, Big Ten Media Days. And before all that, Cleveland.com, they do the Big Ten Media Poll. There's 18 teams in the Big Ten now. Comes out, Michigan State is 16th. Talked a little bit about it on yesterday's show, how kind of split between, is it good to have the disrespect back in our lives? Is it good to fly under the radar as a team? But who cares what the fans think in reality, really? Let's talk to the people that it actually matters to the most, the players. Because, Brian, during your career, you had it both ways. Ahead of the 2017 season, you guys were very under the radar, coming off of a 3-9 season. And then the year after that, you guys are ranked number 11 in the preseason poll ahead of the 2018 season. So you've seen it both ways. Flying under the radar, coming into the season with a lot of hype. Michigan State right now sitting at 16 out of 18 teams. In your experience, is that kind of a blessing for our Spartans here?
It is. And so, you get the opportunity to prove what you can do. There's not really a lot of expectations for, when you're predicted that low. And honestly, for this team in general, there's not it's all new. We got a new coach, new players. We don't really know what to expect. And I'm sure the players have been putting in work and making sure they're doing the right thing and all that. But that's just kind of what happens when you have a new regime, no matter how good they were at the previous spot. Especially coming off a season like they did last year. It's understandable to see where our predictions, where we were predicted to end.
Yeah.
But as a player, you kind of like it. You can fly under the radar, work your way up in the polls every week, and show that you guys have something to prove.
Is that something that you guys pay attention to with the polls going into a season? Because I know the popular answer is, no, we don't pay attention to that. Of course not. But in reality, is preseason polls and stuff like that actually something you do keep a pulse on and use as motivation heading into a season?
Motivation for sure. As a player, you'll see it. You don't really dwell on it that much, but you'll see and be like, okay, that's where they think we're going to finish. That's fine. It doesn't change what we do. It doesn't change anything that we do as a program. You still have everything to prove, even if you were the number one team. What was Ohio State the number one projected?
Yeah, they got 21 first place votes, and Oregon was just right behind them with 6 first place votes.
Okay.
So
even if you're the number one team, you still have to prove them right. When you're in the bad team, you got to prove everyone wrong or predicted to be the bad team. So
yeah,
it's just a mindset thing, and you see it when it comes out, and you're like, okay, yeah, let's go.
And, kind of going along with who's at the top here, because it was Ohio State, Oregon, Michigan, Iowa. Those are 4 teams that made up the top 5. Those 4 teams are also on Michigan State's schedule so far this year. So you're a player looking at that. You probably have an idea of how hard the schedule is going to be. But look, for me, I'm just a cowardly fan. I'm a little scared over here. I'm like, oh, God, I hope everyone just stays alive. But as a player, is it different? Is it just all right, those are the 4 games we're circling? Or what's the reaction when you see how hard the schedule can get?
For me, it's motivation because you play the 4 toughest teams in the league, meaning that you have a chance to beat those teams and get ahead of them in the polls. You have every opportunity in front of you to play those games. It's honestly, I think it'd be worse to have, playing teams that aren't predicted to do well because you don't really you beat them and it's okay, they weren't really predicted to do anything anyway. So they have everything in front of them. I think Michigan State does.
So just going more so into the media day talk, because I believe that you went to Big Ten Media Days once, right? Is that
yes.
correct? Okay, gotcha. So the three players down there right now, it's Nate Carter, Dylan Tatum, and Jack Felling. Just from your perspective, what was media days like? Was it like a cool experience? Is it just kind of just more the same old, borderline annoying, or what was it like for you in your weekend down in Indy?
No, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. We were able to take, I think it was a private jet from East Lansing straight to. Is it still in Chicago?
I think it's in Indianapolis now.
Indy now? Yeah. Okay. I think it was in Chicago when I went.
Okay, gotcha.
So that was pretty cool to do. And like first time ever on a private jet like that, which was awesome. But I mean, just like the experience too, you get to see all the other players from other teams in person, not in pads. And it's just a fun experience. And, it's different than just going to the media after practice or something. You're the chosen delegates from the team to talk, to represent the program well. And it's just a great experience, I think, in my opinion.
Is there almost like pressure then talking to the media since you are like quote unquote the chosen one to go down there? Or, I mean, are you pretty, loose where it doesn't even matter?
I mean, I was pretty loose, I think, with media. I was always able to talk well, and there wasn't really a lot of pressure. We had the one segment where they bring you on BTN and you're live on TV. Yeah, it's pretty cool with all your teammates or with the other guys that are there with you. But I didn't. You just say the right thing. Say, hey, the entire season's in front of us. We got everything to prove. New team, new coach, everything. So yeah.
This goes outside of Michigan State, but sometimes, an athlete or even at the pro level too, like they'll have a comment that's a little offhand. And, some people might say, oh, wow, lack of media training over there. Like media training is a buzzword thrown around a lot. Is that actually a thing? Do you guys actually get coached before you go to these events, or are there like seminars for all the players? I know that this is 2 coaches ago, but still things can somewhat be the same. Was that ever like drilled into you guys?
Yeah, like we have a media person that says, hey, these are the questions you might be asked. Just make sure to answer it respectfully. If it's a question from a media member trying to get a rise out of you. So you just kind of have to. There's a little bit of media training, but it kind of just comes down to the person. Most of the time, the program sends people that are good at talking and able to bounce those questions off their shoulder and stuff like that. So.
Was there like any or just, 1 or 2 questions that you just got so annoyed of answering over and over again in your time?
I don't think so. I mean, everyone talks about, the Michigan game. I don't really get annoyed at answering that question, but it's always something that pops up like, hey, that's most likely the game that's circled on our schedule every year. And, the media is always going to ask you about that, ask you about what happened last year and what you think will happen this year, stuff like that. But, yeah, I mean, that's just kind of the main question that was asked. Not really annoying, but it was always something about Michigan. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that we've talked about it in the past too. I know for sure we've talked about the 2017 Michigan game. I mean, how could you not? Like that, talk about the good times can't get old though, right?
Yeah.
There we go. How often do you think about the touchdown run really quick? Just while I have you here, while we're on the topic, because I think about it at least once a week still to this day. It's been, since it's happened? But, Brian, one of the greatest moments of my entire life. Yeah, that was such a badass run. Let's go. Come on, we're going to shine you up a little bit here. So
yeah, thank you.
I think about it.
I appreciate it. I think about it. Definitely before the Michigan game every year, I'm always like, oh, yeah, that was kind of my big moment against Michigan. Personally, obviously, we won that game, scored a couple of good touchdowns in that game, but I think about it a good amount. And I remember getting a hit pointer on that play too that hurt me for about 5 or 6 weeks after that. I had to wear a pad on my head. Took a helmet right to the hip as I was diving. But yeah, it's definitely a fun moment in my career.
Taking one for the team. That's what I'm talking about. We're going to talk more about the quarterback position. We also reached out to a lot of the fine folks at Twitter. They came with mailbag questions too. It's a grab bag. We're going to go all over the place here for the rest of the show here, Brian. But first, so sorry I have to do this. Got to talk to people's ears off about Gametime. That's right, the greatest ticketing app out there. And why do I love Gametime? Well, guys, we've been talking about it for so long. You already know why at this point. It's how much money they can save you, whether it's their flash deals, whether it's their last-minute deals. As you're just walking up to the venue, you can save money up to the last minute, even a little after the game has started with Gametime. But guys, let's also talk about their ticket coverage. Gametime loves their fans, and they are committed to ensuring that you have an outstanding experience when you buy from Gametime. Their team is proud to offer the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry, so you can rest assured that you have got your back covered. Buy with confidence knowing your purchase is covered by Gametime's ticket coverage. Guys, what is Gametime ticket coverage? Well, I guess I should talk about it. We're talking lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, 24-hour returns guarantee, job loss assurance, and on-time ticket delivery. I've never had an issue with my tickets being delivered on time by Gametime. Also, let's bring it back full circle here. Saving that money. Take the guesswork out of buying your MLB tickets this season with Gametime. Download the Gametime app today, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Gametime today. It's last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Now let's drag him back off the bench here. It is MSU quarterback legend, friend of the program, and co-host of the You Are the Program podcast. That's right. We're not going to leave that out here, Brian. Are you guys returning this year, by the way? You guys are full okay, good. Content never sleeps, right?
I know, yeah. We've been on a little bit of hiatus because, we try and follow the offseason stuff, but it's a little difficult. But we'll definitely – we're trying to roll out a pod this week or next week for sure.
Fresh legs. That's all that we can hope for you guys. That's what we're talking about. So, no, you guys are always doing fine, fantastic work over there. And, well, hey, this offseason, Brian, I doubt that you missed this, but we got a nice little quarterback over here transferred from Oregon State. He goes by the name of Aidan Chiles. And, my goodness gracious, if I go one more day without talking about this guy, I fear what's going to happen because it's been long overdue since we've hyped him up. So we've been doing a lot this offseason. But, look, right now, between now and kickoff, what is the most important thing for a new starter to do? We got fall camp starting up in a few weeks here at the beginning of August. What is the most important for a quarterback in those August weeks?
I think going back to even when he came in, just to get to trust the teammates, especially being a new guy transferring in. He obviously has a coach that he's familiar with, and Jonathan Smith coming over as well. But he's got to get to trust the teammates. Being a young guy too, and definitely being a new guy, but make sure he knows the playbooks, make sure he knows, everything that can happen on a play. If I get this coverage versus this play, what am I doing? Because, you go against Michigan State's defense in camp for at least the first 2 or 3 weeks, and then you finally focus on the team you're playing. And it might be tough to transition from, you're seeing this defense in practice every week or for 3 weeks in a row, and then you got to switch to a different mindset where you're going against a scout team that's running the opponent's defense. So making sure he has a plan for any situation on any play. I'm not sure what his abilities at the line are yet with Jonathan Smith, if he's able to change the play or make audibles or not. But definitely just to be able to have a plan for every play.
I'm sure I've asked you this question before. Maybe this could even be the third time I'm asking this question. But I'm just so fascinated with this because, going back to the first segment, just throw around buzzwords like media training. Another one with new quarterbacks is chemistry. And obviously, he's meeting a lot of new receivers, a lot of new guys catching balls. Yes, you have Jack Valley, the tight end from Oregon State, but all the other receivers, new guys. So how long does it take to install enough chemistry where you are comfortable with? Is that something that you could polish off going into the season, or is that oftentimes just dragged into a season too?
I think a little bit of both. You work on it in the off season and you try and get the timing down of the specific receiver you're throwing to. If you're throwing a timing speed out, you got to be able to know when he's going to break. Some guys, you coach it to take 5 steps on a speed out. Some guys' stride is 2 yards. Some guys' stride is 1.5 yards. Some guys' stride is 2.5 yards. So the depth of the route could be a 12-yard out or it could be a 10-yard out. So you got to learn which guys, take the bigger strides and whatnot. But yeah, he's just got to be able to, learn that and figure that stuff out. And I think once you get into the season too, when you start going against opponents and seeing what receivers do in game, if they're pressed, if they're off, you kind of learn what each guy does, and it helps with timing a lot.
Gotcha. And so between now and then, all that us fans and the media are going to get, they're going to get, a restricted window of practice time. That's, when you get your phone recordings of a guy, catching routes 75 yards away. And, stooges like me overreact to it, of course, because we take any slop that we can get around these parts. And of course you get the quotes, but is there anything from now the outside looking in, having played the quarterback position at a Big Ten level, is there anything that you can look for in the month of August from Chiles, whether it's in front of the media, whether it is these social media clips between now and then that could give us comfort, or it's just flatly not really?
I mean, a little bit. You obviously want to see a guy that can, make the easy throw, like a 5-yard hitch. When he's got a clean pocket. If there's a guy in the slot, safety's off 15 yards, and you're able just to hit like a little 5-yard hitch and put it in the right spot so we can turn a run. That's definitely something you want to see. But there's not too much that I take away personally from watching clips like that, because there's a lot that goes into the quarterback position. And your mind can be racing sometimes, especially when you first get out there and the media's looking at you, and you got to calm the nerves a little bit. But I want to see, and I said this last year too when I was looking at watching the team going into the first game, is just seeing like the pre-snap process, clean to the line, no MAs as far as blocking assignments or passing assignments, route running, all that stuff. And MA is a missed assignment, by the way. Sorry.
For sure.
Just to make sure everyone knows what they're doing pre-snap, and everyone knows what the plan is for the play and how to execute it.
And of course, a lot of people are excited about Aidan Chiles because this is a dual threat quarterback. A lot of people say like, "Oh my God, this is the first dual threat quarterback we've had in a long time." And your name is often attached to the last time we've had a true dual threat quarterback. And I think it's safe to say that because sophomore year, 124 rushing attempts, 559 yards. That was a solid season on the ground. That's when White Lightning was born, baby. When does that wear and tear start, though? Because one of the big concerns I have, a lot of fans have, is that, hey, you know what? This could be a good season if Aidan Chiles is healthy.
Yeah.
So I know, obviously it's all different because, your junior year was also obviously a lot different than your sophomore year as far as health go. But during a full season where you were able to put up 124 carries, when does that wear and tear truly settle in?
Maybe halfway through the season. And I think, the big thing for him is to protect himself when he does run.
Gotcha.
If you have a design quarterback run, I like to have, like, say you got like an inside zone reading the end. I like to have someone coming around the end, like the tight end, to lead block for you if you decide to pull it. That way, the first guy isn't making a hit on you. You can kind of make the second guy miss and maybe slide, avoid hits. And I think his big thing, and what I've learned from college football 25 and playing it, is this guy, Aidan Chiles, is very fast, at least in the game. And anytime that I don't see a read and I'm playing with him, I can scramble and make 10 yards easily. So that's something I want to see from him, is just be able, if he doesn't see anything downfield, to be able to get out of the pocket, get 10 yards to first down, and then just get down. Like, there's no point. Obviously, like, you want to, if you can run a guy over, it'll definitely motivate your teammates and get them going, kind of set the tone for his tenure there. But at some point, you got to be able to get down and protect yourself and learn that extra 2 yards is not worth it.
Yeah, I mean, you're spot on, because I'm going back. I think it was the 2014 Michigan State game. Connor Cook just absolutely barreled over one of the Michigan players. I think it was like Delano Hill or something like that. They could have ended the game right there. Like, that set the tone for the rest of the game. But like you said, you got to keep yourself healthy. And like, this might be a silly question, but did that take you a while to learn? Just because obviously you are so fired up, you do want to get those extra 1 or 2 yards, but it's hard to think of just long-term health in the moment probably. So did that take a while for you, or was that a pretty quick lesson you got to learn?
No, I mean, my first year, my sophomore year playing, I felt like I could hit anyone and take any hit. I was still a young guy. I thought I was, decently big, and I was able to take hits. And as I got a little older, my junior and senior year, the hits started to wear on you a little more, especially, playing in your second or third year, and you're taking hits every year. It does start to like, ow, that one actually that one kind of hurt. Yeah. So you got to be able to learn, and I'm sure he'll be able to do that. And like, when if it's like, oh, maybe it's not time to make the hero play right now and lower your shoulder, and you can just slide down.
And I might be putting you on the spot here because this might be one of the tougher questions, because we haven't talked a lot about Tommy Schuster here, and he's a transfer over from North Dakota. I'm not going to ask you to break down his whole tape and his tendencies and everything, but 6-foot quarterback, 200 pounds, a little undersized, but that didn't stop him from being a record-shattering quarterback over at North Dakota. There's been some college football experts that are saying that he was the best FCS transfer in the portal this offseason. And you guys only played one FCS team. It was Furman back in 2016, but you guys did play other Group of 5 schools, of course. So the question is, like, what is the biggest difference between FCS or, Group of 5 football and then Power 4 football? Like, what's going to be stopping Tommy Schuster from, God forbid, should he play this season? What are some things that are going to be working against him compared to the FCS level?
I think, honestly, the speed of the game, maybe a slight difference. I don't think it's honestly too much. These guys are still – FCS college is still, very competitive league, and it's very hard for a high school player to get to play anywhere in college, honestly. But, especially in, the Power 4 now it is, or FCS. But I think it's just being able to make the reads, seeing who's open, seeing being calm in the pocket. And a lot of the guys from FCS too, like I think we, maybe in 2015, we played Jacksonville State, or maybe the year before that, I don't know. But I remember hearing guys say they were like the hardest hitting team they played all year. Because most of the players that come from those teams are guys that, especially down in the South, is from like Alabama or Georgia, that didn't have the grades to get in, or they flunked out of school and had to go down to the FCS. Yeah. And they're still very good players, and they can hit, they can fly, they can run around. So there might be a little difference in the speed of the game, but it's still football. And if Tommy Schuster were to come in, I think he would be able to play well.
That Jacksonville State mention, just that brings me back to I think it was the first quarter, if I'm not mistaken, but someone hit Connor Cook below the knees there, and he kind of hobbled off, and I almost started crying in my seat in section 16, just full on blubbering, because I thought, well, that's it. That's all, folks. There goes the dream season.
If he didn't have the knee brace on that play, I think that knee brace saved him on that play. I remember that
the knee brace that saved the season. That was a really good tone setter for the rest of that season. That's the most high drama season you could ever ask for, and what a way to kick it off there. Let's go to the mailbag, Brian. Let's waddle in these waters together. Joshua's going to kick us off. How does he feel? You being he. How does Brian feel about Aidan Chiles going into the season, since Brian was the last dual threat we had? And I'm going to add my own amendment to this question.
Yep.
Does NCAA 25, like playing with him, help or hurt how excited you are for Aidan Chiles?
It definitely helps, because I have played a dynasty with Michigan State, and I was playing on Heisman for a little bit, dropped down to All-American, so Heisman was kind of kicking my butt.
Sure.
But I did win the national championship in the third year with Michigan State. Aidan Chiles is a senior.
Let's go.
But, I think, having a dual threat quarterback is kind of a necessity in today's football, with the RPO game and the read option game. And just the ability to get out of the pocket if need be. I'm not a huge fan of, just straight up pocket passers that aren't able to run around. And I think that's what one of his main strengths, I think, is going to be, is just being able to escape the pocket if his read's not there, and make some plays and make some yards, and obviously get down if he needs to.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. Already hit that topic, and that is we can't stress the importance of that topic, though. Like, health is going to be paramount here for one. Aidan Chiles. Professor writes in, who was two questions. Number one, who was your favorite receiver at Michigan State?
Favorite receiver, probably Felton Davis.
Okay.
Him and Darryl Stewart. And they were kind of they were different. Darryl was like the short, speedy guy, and Felton was the jump ball, deep ball type of guy. But I mean, both of them, I had a ton of faith in both of them, that if I was throwing the ball, that they'd be able to make a play and make a good catch. And they were both at like the funniest people on earth too. I think I've probably mentioned this to you before, maybe, but they would just like feed off each other, and they would make the entire locker room laugh at all times. And it was just awesome playing with both of them.
That's good. Yeah, you need the locker room guys. And you know what? Speaking of good locker room guys right here, here's a good question. This brings the team together. This is also from Professor. If you had to fight one, Brian, would you rather fight Joe Bocci or Kenny Willekes? So who are you going to throw hands with here?
I actually saw this question, and I was thinking about it just in case you did ask me.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, Kenny obviously is bigger now. He's like in the 270 range. Joe's in like the 230, I think 240, probably 230 range. So just because of that, because I think like if you put Bocci up in the 270 range, he's just as good as Kenny is in fighting. So just because Joe is 40 pounds less, I'll take him. I probably will still lose, but I would take Joe.
That's a strong answer. I'm going to just pick neither of those guys because I'd both be pulverized. Luckily, the question wasn't, geared towards me here. Alex writes in, we're going to play the glory days here. This was a fantastic memory for everyone involved here. How did you guys stay in the moment during the weather delay of the 2017 Penn State game? You guys weathered the storm literally and figuratively to beat that superb Penn State squad. The weather delay must have felt like an eternity. So, yeah, how on earth did you guys stay in the moment for what felt like a 14-hour delay, but I think officially it was like 3.5 or 4 hours or something like that. So how did you guys do it?
It was long. I mean, it's just like a lot of guys took their pads off, kind of, laid down in the locker room. I think some guys even took a nap, just got their energy back.
Gotcha.
But there wasn't like really a secret formula, I don't think. I mean, we were just kind of hanging out, making sure that we were ready, staying warm. I did hear Penn State, like the post-game meal, they had Pizza House, which is like, I mean, obviously great, but they ate that during the delay. And I'm probably not like the greatest food to be eaten in a 4-hour delay, coming back at, starting the game at noon, delay at 1 o'clock, and then getting back on the field at whatever, 5, 6 o'clock, and they got pizza sitting in their gut. Probably didn't help.
Wow.
I think that maybe played a pretty significant impact in the game. But I mean, for us, we just kind of hung out and made sure we were staying warm. So,
I mean, nothing speeds up the 40 time like some deep dish Chicago style pizza. Just sitting there. That's a little aggressive on the Penn State side, but nevertheless. Bradley writes in, if he was still a Spartan, what local brand would you have considered an NIL deal with?
Yeah. I think maybe, going the golf route, maybe Hawk Hollow.
I like that.
Getting some free golf and being able, go out, make an ad for them. I'm sure. I mean, they're like the best golf course around the area, so probably a lot of people already know about them. But probably them. Just get some free golf, maybe some clubs and all that. But yeah.
I didn't even think about that. I was just geared towards like food the entire time. Like, Craigheads, Little Caesars. But like golf is like that is the correct answer.
Or Cottage Inn if we're going the food route, probably Cottage Inn.
Let's go. Hey now, yep, that's what I'm talking about. Or God, you know what? I'm the reason that Domino's on Harrison Road is still in business to this day from all the money I spent there my senior year. So like, they could have scratched me one if I had a shred of athletic skill in my time there. Isaiah Johnson connoisseur, he writes in, would you ever consider joining the Michigan State staff /sidelines like Darian Harris did? Yeah,
I have thought about that. I think it'd be a fun route to do, and obviously I still got some connections there that I could be able to hit up and ask if they'd be willing to allow me to join the program. That stuff is something I would think about, trying to figure out what I want to do next. But definitely, yeah, like if I go to the coaching or staff route, that would be my first look.
Or just be on the media side of things, be that media trainer for all the kids there. There we go. Any way you slice it, it's going to work out here. Joe Grace writes in, now this question, you talk about bringing back the hits here. He writes in, what was the deal with those Miss Me Yet Lewerke billboards a few years back? Are you going to come clean and finally admit that you paid for those? Is this fine? This finally the day where you shoot us straight here? Come on.
No, I mean, I was just as in shock when I saw those on Twitter whenever they came and be posted or whatnot. I was like, I got some pretty rambunctious fans out there that really love me. So, I don't know where those came from, to be honest.
So you still don't know like where they came from? Like, hand to God, you still have no idea where they came from. That's amazing.
No.
That is absolutely fantastic. Matt C writes in, statute of limitations is up. How bad was that shoulder in 2018? It couldn't have been good, right? Yes.
It was pretty bad. Well, I mean, it was bad enough where I was like, going to the Michigan game, obviously took like some painkillers trying to relieve the pain. Yeah. It happened in the Penn State game in 2015. And I was able to finish that game based just off of adrenaline. But like my shoulder, I couldn't really raise my elbow above my shoulder, which is probably pretty important if you're a quarterback and you're in your right shoulder. So that definitely made it very tough. And my stats proved it because I was not able to do much that game. But yeah, it definitely hurt.
That's tough. Well, that's just tough playing right there. just to get out there.
I'm not going to want to sit down against Michigan, especially the year after we beat them. We're playing them at home. Like I'll do anything I can to be out there. But
sure, no doubt. And then Jack writes in, any funny Coach D stories? A nice broad one to end things on. So if you got any good Coach D stories, smoke them while you got them.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of tough to think of a specific moment, but I always just say like his little mantras that he says, like 4-1. And I think I've said this on your pod. Like I still don't really know what that meant.
Good,
but it was a great mantra for us. 4-1 is to physical as to mental or something like that. But I don't know. I think it was kind of good luck for me because the Michigan game, actually, the touchdown run I had was a 14-yard touchdown run. So we'll switch around
Let's
the 4-1 and make it 14. And obviously I was number 14. So that was pretty cool that kind of, worked out like that. But
Poetic. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Well, hey, Brian, again, can't thank you enough for hopping on the show yet again. Just keep on saying yes whenever it gets asked to drag you back on. You are just quite simply the man. And when can the fine folks expect the You Are the Program podcast to get back up? Am I bullying you into a return right now, or
no? Because we've been trying to bully each other into getting together and doing the pod, and it's been tough with schedules. But I think we're going to try and record either tomorrow or Thursday, so it should be out, I think, Saturday or Sunday. So
love it. There we go. Perhaps we're reacting to what goes on at Big Ten Media Days, just like we will tomorrow on this show. We're going to respond to everything that Jonathan Smith has said, maybe things that he didn't say. Folks, you know where to find it. Locked on Spartans, your team in Greenway 5 days a week. But until then, hey, love you all. Go Green.